Okay, so I've been on YouTube the last couple days, and ever since the John Molina Jr. fight, there has been a question that has been being brought up amongst some fellow YouTubers, and that question is Terence Crawford truly a pound-for-pound fighter? Now, I know a lot of you are probably like, what? That's a stupid question. Of course he's pound-for-pound. And then, you know, on the flip side, you got some people who don't believe he's a pound-for-pound fighter, especially for some reason after the last two performances he put on. Now, in my last Terence Crawford video that I made about him starting to show improvements, obviously I didn't have an issue with the John Molina Jr. fight. I did, however, say that I did not enjoy the Victor Postol fight very much. Yes, I do think he outboxed Victor Postol. No, I don't think it was a very spectacular performance on Terence Crawford's part. Not so much in the way that he boxed, but sort of, I don't know how to explain it. I guess what kind of disappointed me about the Postol fight, obviously, is because he didn't just get him out of there when he had every chance to do so. But one bad performance from Terence Crawford ain't gonna really change my mind. And my answer to that particular question is yes, I do believe Terence Crawford is a pound-for-pound fighter. How high do I rate him on the pound-for-pound list? I'm not really sure, man, because, I watch a lot of boxers. That's really hard to sort out. And there's a lot of good boxers out there, especially in the world. So it's kind of difficult to give them an exact placement if you're just speaking in terms of like top 10 pound for pound. I do have them in my top 10 pound for pound. I just don't know what spot yet because I haven't really made one. But I know if I were to make one, Terence Crawford would definitely be on my top 10 pound for pound. And I'm going to go ahead and explain why. First off, I want to start with a lot of people would figure I'd start with the Gamboa win. No, I don't want to start with the Gamboa win. Even though it was a great fight, both guys were top-level competitors, so it was a great victory for Terence Crawford, and he finished Gamboa in spectacular fashion. So, and I'm not going to say Gamboa exposed him because he hit him and he hurt him and yada yada yada, and say that Crawford has a weak chin, because I don't believe he does have a weak chin. He's been hit at both 135 and 140 pounds, and I have yet to see him. Well, Gamboa shook him with the nice right hand. John Molina Jr., big puncher, hardly shook him at all, and he landed some big ass right hands in that fight. So, starting with the Thomas Delorme fight. Now, I know Thomas Delorme isn't exactly a top-notch level fighter, but at 140, I do believe he is one of the better boxers. In the fight, you can see Crawford, and like I've already talked about this, but he didn't go in there to destroy Thomas Delorme right away. He went in there to box Thomas Delorme because he knew that Thomas Delorme wasn't to be underestimated. So he took his time, did some really good boxing moves, a lot of good jabbing, a lot of good countering Thomas Delorme's punches with the jab, and a couple of little small right hands to the body here and there, a couple of jabs to the body, some good movement, keeping Thomas Delorme guessing at all times. Thomas Delorme was able to get off some effective punching, but not a lot of it had a real purpose to it, so it wasn't really setting up anything. They were kind of just sporadic boxing moves that were able to get to Crawford. But Crawford also showed very good defense in that fight, especially being in there with a decent boxer like Thomas Delorme, who has pretty quick fucking hands. So basically, it all boiled down to one point, the big 1-2. I called it the 1-2. It could have been more like a 3-2, left hook, straight right, but it looked like a jab, straight right. Either way, it was one of the best two pieces that I've ever seen performed by any boxer. It was powerful as all hell. You could hear how hard the punches landed and how fucking fast it was. It was such a fast 1-2. It was so fast that Thomas Delorme couldn't even, it hit him so quick that I don't even think he knew the punches were coming, right? So that was one of my all-time favorite performances by Terence Crawford. Then we get into, I'm going to skip the Dirijan and Hank Lundy fights. Dirijan was a decent boxer. Crawford made fairly easy work of him. Beat down Hank Lundy pretty good. And then you get to the Postal fight. Now, Terence Crawford, he was outboxing Postal, but I didn't like his coasting. You know what I'm saying? Got towards the later rounds, started to coast a bit. At first, I thought he was kind of just moving around the ring a little excessively, maybe trying to figure out an angle to, you know, where he can attack Postal at, or trying to walk Postal into something, because that's what Crawford does when he's backpedaling. He isn't backpedaling because he's running. He's backpedaling to walk fighters into something. At least that's the way that I'm seeing it. Alright, because like Postal, he walked Postal into some pretty good shots. Anytime him and Postal did exchange, Crawford got the better of it. And I'm pretty sure no one's disagreeing with me on the Postal fight. Crawford outclassed Postal. Postal, good boxer. He's from Ukraine. Isn't from the modern day Ukraine school, like the 2012 Ukrainian Olympic team, which contains probably some of the best fighters that are fighting today. But nevertheless, Postal was a good fighter. You know, he had his own tactics, did his own, you know what I'm saying, had his own way of boxing. Nothing too flashy, pretty simple, real classic style. Some good jabbing, likes to frustrate his opponents, not too heavy-handed, but he had some pretty sneaky power, you know, as he showed with fighting Lucas Matisse, you know, after frustrating him and wearing him down a little bit. Nevertheless, Terence Crawford outclassed him, coasted, which I didn't really approve of. I think he could have finished the job with Postal. But if you don't want to take risks, you know, the repercussion should be expected. But it is understandable. You built up a fucking crazy lead. No point in, you know, risking that to, you know, by maybe either getting knocked out, which I don't think Postal could have knocked Terence Crawford out anyway, but no reason to risk it. Or maybe he just felt like the fight wasn't competitive, got bored. I don't know. Who knows the reasoning behind it, really? I don't think it was him being scared. Crawford doesn't strike me as a very scary guy. He strikes me as a guy who would be willing to fight anybody. I know there's people out there saying that he ducked Felix Diaz. I'm not too sure about the story, so I can't really give you guys my take on that. But if Crawford's willing to stick around at 140, I'm pretty sure he'd give Diaz a fight, you know, if the fight can be made. So, you know, after the Postal fight, the Felix Diaz Jr. thing was kind of in between the Postal and the John Molina Jr. Now, John Molina Jr. fight comes up. This is where the bashing of Terence Crawford really starts to kind of take full effect. Personally, I don't see where the reasoning is coming from when it comes to the John Molina Jr. Yeah, sure, John Molina Jr. wasn't gonna be able to compete with Terence Crawford. I totally understand that. He wasn't gonna be able to get Troyanovsky in there, obviously, because Troyanovsky had a fight with Ndongo and got knocked out in the first round. Terence Crawford wasn't even supposed to fight on December 10th. He was supposed to fight sometime in January against who knows. I don't know who he was gonna fight in January, but, you know, because Gennady Golovkin got pushed off that date because of the negotiations with Danny Jacobs, so December 10th became free. Terence Crawford jumped into the spot. Now, it wasn't like on a too late of a notice, but it was, you know, pretty quick that he jumped into that December 10th date on HBO. Alright, so now let's get into the John Molina Jr. fight itself. Now, I'm not going to go into what I seen I'll go a little bit into what I seen in the fight, but if you guys really want to know my full analysis of the fight, check out my other video. So, some of the biggest complaints that I'm hearing from particular people about Terence Crawford and the John Molina Jr. fight is that he was running again. Now, understand something, he was not running in that fight. Not, at least, that's not how I seen it, at least. He was not running, alright? John Molina Jr. is a go straight forward fighter. How often is it that you back up John Molina Jr.? He usually doesn't get backed up unless he's fighting somebody of a similar style as him. Otherwise, they just meet in the center of the ring and brawl it out. But Crawford is not a brawler whatsoever. He's a boxer. a boxer with good punching power. Some people call him a weight bully. You know, I'm gonna have to do a little bit. I mean, yeah, he was a little big for 135. 140 seems to fit him a little bit better. John Molina Jr. to me looked like the bigger guy in the fight between them, at least when it comes to the meatiness. Crawford, you know, he's a little bit on the thinner side, but he's pretty lengthy. You know what I'm saying? He's really lengthy. He's got some good reach, long legs, and he's pretty tall. So I think that's where the size confusion gets. Otherwise, he's not a very massive dude. You know what I'm saying? He's not a stocky dude. He's a lengthy. He's like me. You know, I'm 6'3", and I weigh like 200 and some pounds, maybe like 220. But by the look of me, you wouldn't think I weighed over 200 pounds. You would think I weighed like 175 or something, you know, because I'm lengthy. I got long arms, long legs, and I'm really tall. And I'm skinny. I'm thin. So Terence Crawford has a similar build to mine. Only, you know, I'm like fucking 6 inches taller than him, or something like that. But nevertheless, John Molina Jr. looked like the bigger guy to me. So I don't see where the weight... I can't really talk too much about the weight bully situation, but the running, the feet, the foot movement. No, I don't think Terence Crawford was running once again. He was backing up. John Molina Jr. will go forward. Now, if a guy is willing to go forward or is coming straight at you, knowing he's throwing haymakers, that's all he was throwing in the fight, were fucking big looping shots. You think Terence Crawford's just gonna stand there and fucking take one of those punches? Hell no. Any boxer wouldn't. Any boxer would not stand there and try to take shots like that from John Molina Jr. Why fight his game? I thought maybe he would try to beat him at his own game, but after, you know, John Molina Jr. not making weight or like coming like 4 pounds over, and I don't see why Crawford was just gonna stand there and trade punches like he's ever fucking done that before. That's what really doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, he was moving, but he was not moving like he was in the Postal fight, not even a little bit. Crawford was moving very well, walking John Molina Jr. into punches. If a fighter's willing to come straight at you with no head movement, why not back up and walk him into a fucking huge power shot like he was doing all night long? Alright, and John Molina Jr. And I don't want to hear any excuses like, oh, he should have knocked him out in the first 3 rounds. That's bullshit too. Who the fuck, other than DeMarco, which was a lame ass stoppage, who has stopped John Molina Jr. that early with one punch? Nobody. Not even Lucas Matisse, and he hits fucking way harder than Terence Crawford does. Lucas Matisse had to go to war with John Molina Jr. just to take him out. And you think Terence Crawford's gonna get him out of there in 3 rounds? 3-4 rounds? Hell no. I didn't expect it to end that early either. So that doesn't make sense to me. From a boxing standpoint, given John Molina Jr.'s tactics and given his durability, hell no, I knew it wasn't going to be an early stoppage. It probably could have been, maybe, if Crawford really wanted to step it up. But, like I said, he's not a brawler. He will get in there and scrap from time to time. Yeah, he's done it before. But he's not a brawler. That's not his primary objective going into fights. He's a boxer, and a very skilled boxer at that. In the John Molina Jr. fight, he wasn't dancing around the ring, sticking his tongue out, and nowhere near John Molina Jr. John Molina Jr. followed him every little bit of the way. Terence Crawford is not going to stop in his tracks to fucking sit there and brawl with the dude who's coming in head first. If you watch the fight, Molina headbutted Crawford a lot, jumping in head first and throwing the wildest fucking punches ever. You know, that's John Molina Jr.'s MO, to get on the inside and bang the shit out of you with as much punches as he possibly can get off. Terence Crawford, smart fighter, he's going to neutralize that. That's going to be the first thing he tries to take away from John Molina Jr. Second thing, Terence Crawford was using a spin out move from the southpaw position. You know who else uses a spin out move from the southpaw position? Lomachenko. And he uses it in every single fight. And now you want to compare a fight that was somewhat similar to this, obviously not exactly the same, so don't get it twisted like, oh, it was the same fucking fight. No, that's not what I'm saying, but something similar. The one fighter who was able to back Lomachenko up constantly and put pressure on him was Orlando Salido. Orlando Salido, like John Molina Jr., was coming in head first. The difference was Salido's a crazy body puncher, but he likes to throw them punches low. really low. So what did Lomachenko do? He responded the exact same way Terence Crawford responded, by clinching a lot. Lomachenko was clinching a lot. I don't blame him though. I would clinch too if I was getting hit in the balls. I would also clinch if I was in there with a fighter who was swinging wild as shit at me head first. And anytime I attempted to use a spin out move and the dude grabbed me by the waist to try to get me to stand still like John Molina Jr. was doing, watch the fight. Put it on slow motion if you have to. I watched the fight like 5 fucking times. He would grab Terence Crawford by the waist to get him to stop spinning out off the ropes. And usually that's when Terence Crawford's clinching would start. Yeah, he used some unnecessary clinching. I will admit that. But it wasn't like he was just, it wasn't, alright, fuck, I don't want to bring him up, but I'm going to have to. He wasn't Andre Warding John Molina Jr. He wasn't doing the jab and grab, the jab and fucking, you know what I'm saying, the jab and clinch, or the dip down below, raging bull, headbutt, uppercut, you know what I'm saying, headbutt, uppercut with your head, you know what I'm saying? Like, he wasn't doing none of that Andre Ward stuff. Now I'm done talking about Andre Ward. He wasn't doing any of that shit. Alright, John Molina Jr. came in head first, wildly swinging. What are Terence Crawford's options? Either A, stand there and possibly get hit like he did a couple of times. B, spin out. C, if you're trying to spin out and the dude grabs you, what are your options left? Either get tackled or stand there, or either tackle, push the dude off you, which is illegal, clinch, which is illegal, or sit there and try to trade shots with him, which could have ended badly for Terence Crawford, or put him at risk with being hit by one of those fucking crazy ass looping shots by John Molina Jr. Now, and I talked about the good things that Terence Crawford was doing in my last video. He was using more controlled footwork when he wasn't getting tangled up on the ropes with John Molina Jr. He was using a nice spin out move. I've never seen Crawford use his feet so effectively like I have seen him do in this particular fight. It was the right opponent to practice it on, and I would love to see Terence Crawford use it in future fights. Terence Crawford was also throwing, you know, I don't think Terence Crawford can help it, but he puts some mustard on pretty much every shot he throws, even his jab. I just think that's the way he throws punches naturally. But you could tell when Terence Crawford punches and then really tries to punch. Well, he would use some of those normal type of his normal punches kind of to hit John Molina Jr. Spin out from a southpaw position, spin outside of John Molina's lead left hand and shoot straight shots. Who does that remind you of? Vasyl Lomachenko, right? Or any Ukrainian boxer from that 2012 Olympic team like I brought up. Alright, so Terence Crawford, in my opinion, is starting to implement new tactics that I haven't seen him use before in prior fights. And I'm not going to talk shit about Crawford. I told you I could have done without the clinching. But then I watched the fight again, and I seen Mr. fucking, you know what I'm saying, bulldozing. I basically seen John Molina Jr. bulldozing in with this head first, swinging overhand rights and lefts. You know what I'm saying? Terence Crawford, you could see him complain to the referee a couple of times. You've seen John Molina Jr. complain to the referee a couple times about holding. Well, fuck, he wouldn't be holding if you weren't charging at him with your head, swinging wildly. What do you expect him to do? He's not going to just fucking stand there. That's idiotic. And anybody who, and that's another thing that gets brought up in, you know, fights all the time. I know the difference between excessive running and controlled footwork. And what I seen in the Terence Crawford fight wasn't excessive movement. It was controlled footwork. He was never so far out of John Molina Jr.'s range that you can consider it him being evasive to the point where he doesn't want to get into any physical contact with John Molina Jr. Hell no. He can move around the ring like that against somebody like John Molina Jr., who is sitting there willing to go forward and engage you, but close the distance completely. See, that's the difference between the John Molina Jr. fight and the Viktor Postol fight. Viktor Postol is a boxer. He's not going to try to close the distance completely against the shorter, less lengthier fighter like Terence Crawford. You understand what I'm saying? Postol wanted to get close enough to where Crawford was in his range, and to where Crawford was out of and to where and then to be out of Crawford's range at the same time, to be in Postal's range and be out of Crawford's range. That's why movement looked so excessive. If Postal ain't gonna close the distance on Terence Crawford, then who's not engaging? Neither of them, right? So you can't just blame the one guy. You gotta, it's not that simple. You can't just blame one fighter for a fucking fight not being as exciting as it should have. Postal was very reluctant to engage too, and didn't start trying to engage like with commitment until later on in the fight, when he knew he needed a knockout to win. John Molina Jr., on the other hand, will walk at you and close the distance completely and sit there and try to scrap with you, because that's what he does. And he's pretty damn good at doing it too. And Terence Crawford knows this. That's why he would move around. Let John Molina Jr. come to him. Terence Crawford isn't an inside fighter either. You understand what I'm saying? If one guy is steadily and constantly all fight walking at you trying to close your distance, what is your options? To create distance, right? Because you're trying to box. You're not trying to brawl. You're trying to box. So you got to create distance. If a guy's coming straight forward at you, where do you go? You either pull off a spin move to get the guy to, stop in his place, maybe get him to turn on the spot and to walk him into a nice shot, make him commit the cardinal sin of turning on the spot and walk him into a punch when he turns. Or you back up and keep your distance. See, the Crawford-Molina fight was a little bit more difficult than it appeared. Believe me, I've been in the ring with guys who fight like John Molina Jr. I've had personal experiences with guys who come straight the fuck at you, applying all types of pressure and gives you no distance to work. Gives you no room to work. It sucks. It's suffocating, and it's so fucking frustrating. So, with that being said, now I hope you guys can tell the difference between excessive movement and effective movement. The difference between refusing to engage or finding the space to engage at your own pace, fighting your fight, not the other way around. I don't know what triggered such a bad reaction to this. Okay, I can understand. Yeah, I wasn't too pleased when I heard that John Molina Jr. is Terence Crawford's opponent. I'm like, dude, he could be fighting way better competition than that. Who? I'm not too sure. I would have liked to see the Diaz fight. I would have liked to see the Troya fight if he didn't get knocked out. But I guess, to just kind of fill the gap, why not take on someone you can have a little showcase and, performance on? Build your stock up. He could fight. He's got plenty of years left. He's young. He's got plenty of fights left. And Terence Crawford doesn't strike me as the type to avoid top level competition. He fought Postal. Postal was number 1 or 2 WBC champion at the 140-pound division. He fought him. Fucking Yuriorkis Gamboa, the guy Mikey Garcia I don't know if he wouldn't or just didn't fight. He fought him. You know what I'm saying? Thomas Delorme, another good boxer at the 140-pound division. He fought him. Beat him in spectacular fashion. Took the Brady's Prescott fight on less than a 2 weeks notice. Beat him. Got put on. So yeah, man, I really don't understand where some of this hatred is coming from. You know what I'm saying? Terence Crawford to me is, in my opinion, and I'm talking purely in my top 10 pound for pound. And on a particular video, if he watches this video, he'll know who he is. And with all due respect, because I do like his channel, one of his arguments is that Terence Crawford is a domestic pound for pound fighter, not a world renowned pound for pound fighter, in his view. Alright, and he's a pretty credible guy. He knows his boxing. But me personally, I disagree. I think Terence Crawford is a world class fighter and can be considered a top 10 pound for pound fighter on a global perspective, not just a domestic and right here in the United States perspective. Maybe he doesn't fight around the world or whatever, but why? He doesn't need to. You know what I'm saying? When he could fight right here at home where the exposure is at. You know what I mean? Now, I'm not saying that's an excuse, he shouldn't, maybe if he ever gets himself into a purse bid and it's a guy from, another country and they win and they decide to have the fight somewhere else, if he declines it purely based off of the location, then, you know what I'm saying? I could see now that we would have some problems, you know what I'm saying? But that has yet to be seen. But so far, he's fought top level competition, or at least people who were at the top level spots, and he's making it look fairly easy. All right, because in my opinion, from purely a boxing skill perspective, Terence Crawford does pretty advanced things in the ring. He is very fundamentally sound, and he does perform pretty advanced things, especially when it comes to his defense, when it comes to his strategic boxing, you know, jabbing in particular places, not letting off the big power right away, very effective counter punching, the switch hitting. Not a lot of people can switch hit, you know, it's not a very common thing. In some boxers you find it, but Terence Crawford is able to effectively fight in both positions. I do prefer him in the southpaw stance, though. I do think he does very well in the southpaw stance. So yeah, from a technical perspective, I see Terence Crawford as a very technically sound A-level fighter. And some might not agree with me. I know there's people who don't agree with me, actually, and I know there's plenty of people who probably do agree with me. And then one thing I can understand is you have your overly passionate fans. And when I mean overly passionate, it would be, I guess, a polite way of kind of saying fanboy or stan, or, you know what I'm saying, shit like that, who will defend them regardless. You know, they could absolutely do no wrong. There's absolutely no bad criticism that comes from them. You know what I'm saying? Fuck every other fighter that's not my favorite fighter, you know, type of fans, which they're boxing fans in the end, so they deserve their, you know, they deserve to express their thoughts as well. So I don't ever want to take that away from them, regardless of how asinine or foolish some of the shit that they say might sound, or some very illogical shit too, you know, that I've seen. But nevertheless, you know, they're boxing fans at the end of the day as well. They deserve to express their opinions as equals to more hardcore boxing fans, you know what I mean? So yeah, like I said, it kind of hurts a little bit. Not hurts like emotionally, it just kind of sucks to see like people who are like really fucking negative about boxing in like the worst ways. A fighter does good and still gets shitted on even when he's still doing good, or they're just not seeing it, you know what I'm saying? They're just not seeing what I'm seeing, or maybe I'm seeing something that's not there. I don't think so, but you know what I'm saying? Go look at the John Molina fight. Everything that I just explained in that fight, you will see it on that fight. Pay close attention. Start off, watch the video, pay attention to the feet. A lot of tripping going on there. You know what I'm saying? He has to pull that spin move fast, otherwise the distance gap is closed. You know, a lot of leading with the head from John Molina Jr. There was some clinching. There was some unnecessary clinching by Terence Crawford. I will admit that. You can see that in there. But then you could see, how do you say it? What was I saying? John Molina Jr. kind of blocking with his arm the exit path from, you know, getting off the ropes from Terence Crawford, which kind of led on to some of that clinching and some of that real awkward, you know what I mean, getting kind of tangled up in there shit. I don't know, man. Like I said, I just don't. I don't see it. I don't see what other people are seeing. In my opinion, he is a very talented boxer. He's special. He's a special boxer. So if you don't think he's shit, that's cool. That's up to you. But I guarantee you he doesn't lose anytime soon. I guarantee you if he moves up to welterweight, he's a problem. I guarantee you that any top 140 pound fighter now he beats. I'll put money on it. Shit, I'll put money on it. But yeah, so I just thought I would give you guys my take, you know. Like I say in the when I comment on people's shit, when I make these videos, I'm entitled, and I'll keep saying it just to keep reminding you motherfuckers that I'm not speaking for you, I'm speaking for myself. I'm entitled to whatever I feel. You disagree with me? That's fine. It gives us something to talk about. You agree with me? That's cool too. We got something in common. But you ain't gonna take away my opinion. And I'm not like closed-minded unless you can prove to me that he's a shitty boxer or he's not a pound for pound fighter with facts. And I'm talking, leave with all that journalistic out of the ring type of shit. I don't want to hear none of that bullshit, because that to me is fucking, that shit is just, I don't care about that. I'm talking in the ring, prove me wrong. Show me while he is in that ring and prove to me that he is not a good fighter. Prove to me that the shit he is doing is not advanced boxing shit, that it's basic, that he's a one-dimensional fighter, that he's a shit fighter, that he uses too much foot movement, that he has no defense. Show me it. Show me all of it. You know, I challenge anybody, and I won't be mad. If you prove me wrong, I'll admit you proved me wrong. But I doubt you will, but I'll admit it. I admit to being everything that I've ever said wrong on my channel. If I predicted a fight wrong, I didn't even make a breakdown and prediction video on the Troyanovsky fight, and I predicted Troyanovsky to win, and I didn't make a video. And Julius Ndongo fucking knocked his ass out in like 40 seconds. And the first thing that I did was make a fucking post-fight video saying how wrong I was. J-Rock, I predicted him to outbox Charlo, which he kind of was, and I stick by that. But he got knocked the fuck out too. Artur Akavov versus Billy Joe Saunders. I predicted he was going to outbox Billy Joe Saunders. He did. Billy Joe Saunders, once again, got that hometown decision. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there was a couple of close rounds. Whatever, I'm not going to go into it. Artur Akavov won. Watch the fight. You'll see it. So, once again, if you can prove me wrong, prove me wrong. I challenge anybody to. Make a video and give me some statements. Fuck. We can do Google Hangouts. We can watch the fight, and you could sit there, and I won't say a fucking word. I won't argue with you or nothing. You could sit there and explain to me everything that Terence Crawford is doing that shows that he is not a good boxer. I challenge anybody to. You want to call him a weight bully? I don't have, you know what I'm saying? I gotta go back and look at that shit. I know he was big for the 135 pound division, but I mean, if he can make the weight, you know what I mean? Usually draining yourself down to 130, a weight class that's too small for you kills you. Wasn't killing him. Look at what happened to fucking to Chad Dawson when he fought Andre Ward. Had to come all the way down to 168 pounds from 175 and was weight drained as all fucking hell and got knocked out by a guy who has no power at all. If Terence Crawford is that much of a weight bully, how was he able to make 135 pounds without being weight drained? Sure, he was big for the division, but there's always a big guy in every division. Look at fucking Sean Porter, man. I mean, the muscle mass on Sean Porter. Dude looks like a fucking bodybuilder. And he ain't no weight bully. And he, you know, I don't know how much he, you know, hydrates too, but he's a big dude. And he's strong as shit. Errol Spence Jr., he looks big as fuck for a welterweight too. But he's not a weight bully. Canelo, well, the catch weight thing kind of hurts him on that one, but yeah, I mean, he is a big fucking 154 pounder, but he can make the, well, did he, yeah, he can make the weight, I think, but I think his weight class is 160. But Terence Crawford, you know, he stayed at 135, moved up to 140, and people are still calling him a weight bully. I don't understand that. He jumped up 5 pounds. If he was a weight bully at fucking 135, and then he jumps up to 140, and he's still a weight bully. Fucking Victor Postal looked twice his size. So, I don't know. But I'm just ranting on here. This is a long fucking video. But let me know if you guys agree with me. Let me know, and all you who don't agree with me, let me know. But you gotta really let me fucking know. You're gonna have to really, if you're gonna comment some shit, you better get into some real detail. You're gonna one word comment and try to drop the mic on my ass, that shit ain't gonna work. I ain't gonna block you or anything, but I'm just not gonna respond to you. Yo, I'll let you drop the mic. You can make yourself look like a fool. That's cool with me. Anybody who does agree with me, let me know why you agree with me too as well, you know. Don't just be like, yeah man, you're right. Nah, tell me why I'm right. Let me know why I'm right. Or if I'm right but I'm wrong about a few things, let me know. You know, I don't get mad about this shit. I mean, I get a little not defensive, but I get a little, you know, I get passionate too, you know, because I'm a boxing fan. I love boxing. So I have a lot to say. And I express what I think about boxing with a lot of energy. You know what I mean? That's just the way that I am. I'm not like overly emotional about it. So, I mean, I don't get mad to the point where I start saying like outlandish shit. You know what I mean? I can pretty much keep my composure even if I am pissed off. That's just who I am, I guess. But yeah man, drop a comment, like the video, subscribe to the channel, introduce somebody to boxing. We can never have enough boxing fans. Introduce somebody, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.